In the far reaches of the northern hemisphere, beyond the taiga and tundra, lies a land of ice, wind, and endless horizon. Siberia. For millennia, this frozen expanse has whispered secrets of a past largely forgotten, hiding stories of civilizations that once thrived where few would dare to tread. Beneath layers of permafrost, buried beneath snow and time, lie the traces of peoples whose lives, ingenuity, and journeys shaped the very course of humanity in ways we are only beginning to understand. These ancient Siberians were not mere survivors of a harsh land. They were pioneers, explorers, and innovators. Their migrations carried them across continents. Their cultures blossomed amidst the extreme, and their discoveries rippled far beyond the borders of the north. Yet, their story has been overshadowed, hidden behind the veil of isolation and the vastness of their homeland. In this journey, we will uncover the origins of these lost civilizations, explore their daily lives, beliefs, and remarkable achievements, and trace their influence on the great currents of human migration. From the frozen steppes to the distant shores touched by their footsteps, Siberia's forgotten peoples offer a profound insight into the resilience, ingenuity, and interconnectedness of humanity itself. Long before the world had carved its modern nations and civilizations, Siberia stretched as a vast, untamed wilderness, a land of snowbound forests, rolling steppes, and frozen rivers that seemed to stretch into eternity. It is here, in this immense and inhospitable expanse, that the first humans began to stake their claim. Archaeological evidence suggests that Siberia was populated as early as 45,000 years ago during the Upper Paleolithic, when small groups of hunter-gatherers braved its frigid climate, carving a fragile existence from the land. The geography of Siberia was both a challenge and a defining force. To the west, the Ural Mountains rose like a sentinel between Europe and Asia, while the Siberian plains extended endlessly eastward, meeting the icy coasts of the Arctic Ocean. Rivers like the Ob, Lena, and Yenisei provided lifelines, channels for food, water, and eventual migration. Yet the winters were merciless, with temperatures plummeting far below freezing and summers short and fleeting. Survival demanded ingenuity, cooperation, and an intimate understanding of the environment. Shelter, clothing, and fire were not luxuries. They were matters of life and death. Early Siberian peoples developed remarkable strategies to thrive. Nomadic patterns dictated their lives, following the herds of reindeer, mammoths, and other megafauna that roamed the plains. Hunting was not just a means of survival. It shaped culture, social structure, and even spiritual beliefs. The sacredness of animals, depicted in intricate carvings and cave art, reflected a profound connection to the natural world, a recognition that humanity and environment were inseparable. Tools made from bone, stone, and later bronze showcase a sophisticated understanding of materials and design. Spears, harpoons, and knives were not only functional, but often adorned with symbolic carvings, merging utility with artistic expression. Despite the apparent isolation of this northern frontier, Siberia was never entirely cut off from the rest of the world. The region served as a bridge between east and west, a corridor for human migration across continents. Ancient peoples of Siberia were among the earliest to traverse vast distances, moving toward North America via the Bering Land Bridge and southward toward the fertile valleys of Central Asia. Genetic studies reveal that these movements played a crucial role in populating distant regions, linking Siberian populations to Native American ancestors, to nomadic groups across the Eurasian steppes, and even to far-reaching societies in Europe and Asia. The harsh climate of Siberia demanded flexibility and innovation. During the Ice Ages, glaciers covered much of the landscape, pushing humans to adapt or migrate. Populations shifted with the changing environment, following rivers that thawed seasonally, adapting to tundra, taiga, and steppe alike. Seasonal camps emerged, some permanent, others ephemeral, reflecting a deep understanding of cycles, weather patterns, and resource availability. Tools evolved with the land itself: sledges for traversing snow, fur-lined clothing to withstand sub-zero temperatures, and boats to navigate the rivers that crisscrossed the region. Even the diet reflected ingenuity. Beyond hunting, Siberians gathered berries, roots, and fish. mastering preservation techniques to survive the long winters. Yet Siberia was more than a land of survival. It was a place of cultural flowering. Archaeological sites such as Malta, near Lake Baikal, reveal figurines and ornaments, tiny sculptures that speak of human creativity and symbolic thought. These artifacts, often crafted from mammoth ivory, demonstrate not only artistic skill, but also a sophisticated social culture, where ritual, expression, and community intertwined. Each discovery hints at an intricate society, one where humans did not merely endure the harsh environment, they transformed it into a stage for their ingenuity and spirit. Siberian peoples also forged connections far beyond their homeland. Trade networks, though modest in scale compared to later civilizations, carried goods, ideas, and technologies across vast distances. Obsidian, animal furs, and even carved objects moved between groups, suggesting early communication, negotiation, and exchange of knowledge. These interactions laid the groundwork for broader patterns of migration and influence, connecting Siberia to the sweeping story of humanity. Through these movements, technologies, and cultural practices, Siberia became a silent architect of global human history. The story of early Siberian settlements challenges our perception of ancient civilization. Far from the river valleys of Mesopotamia or the plains of the Indus, this northern frontier was not a marginal outpost. It was a cradle of adaptation, innovation, and connection. Here, humanity learned to endure extreme conditions, to move across continents, and to create cultural identities that would echo far beyond the frozen north. The first Siberians were more than mere wanderers in a harsh land. They were pioneers whose footsteps would ripple through time, influencing migrations, technologies, and societies across the globe. As we trace their journey, from scattered camps along frozen rivers to expansive migrations across continents, the ancient peoples of Siberia emerged not as isolated survivors, but as central actors in the story of humanity itself. Their legacy is embedded not only in the artifacts left behind, but in the very genetic, cultural, and migratory threads that weave together the tapestry of global civilization. In the frozen silence of Siberia, the echoes of these early pioneers still linger, waiting to be uncovered, understood, and celebrated. Life in ancient Siberia was a delicate dance with the elements, a continuous negotiation with a land that was as beautiful as it was unforgiving. For the early Siberians, existence was shaped by the rhythms of the seasons, the migrations of animals, and the constant presence of snow and ice. Daily life revolved around survival, yet within these harsh realities flourished a culture rich with ingenuity, ritual, and art. Families and small clans worked together, hunting in coordinated groups, gathering food, crafting tools, and preserving knowledge across generations. Fires burned not only for warmth, but as the center of community life, around which stories were told, skills were taught, and traditions were nurtured. Belief and spirituality were woven into every aspect of Siberian life. The natural world was alive with spirits, and animals were often seen as sacred intermediaries between humans and the unseen. Shamanic practices played a central role in society, with shamans acting as mediators, healers, and guides. Rituals marked the changing of seasons, successful hunts, and the passage of life itself. The Siberians recognized the power of the environment, honoring it with ceremonies, offerings, and dances that mirrored the cycles of the land. Rock carvings and cave paintings depict these beliefs, often illustrating hunting scenes infused with symbolic patterns that suggest not just a record of life, but a map of spiritual understanding. Art in ancient Siberia was never mere decoration. It was a reflection of identity, belief, and social cohesion. Small, portable carvings made from bone, ivory, and antler were carefully crafted, depicting animals, humans, and abstract symbols. These artifacts were used in daily life, in rituals, and possibly even in storytelling, serving as tangible connections to ancestors and the unseen world. Figurines, sometimes no larger than a hand, show detailed representations of clothing, posture, and adornment, giving us a glimpse into the social and aesthetic values of the time. Each piece, painstakingly created, communicated more than skill. It carried meaning, memory, and the essence of Siberian culture. Trade, though limited by distance and terrain, formed a vital part of Siberian society. River systems acted as natural highways, connecting communities across vast expanses. Goods such as furs, ivory, and tools were exchanged between clans, while ideas and techniques traveled alongside tangible objects. These networks allowed the spread of innovations in hunting, toolmaking, and clothing, creating a shared cultural foundation that transcended individual tribes. Early economic systems were built on reciprocity, cooperation, and the understanding that survival depended not only on what one could provide, but on maintaining bonds with others. Within the home, daily routines were both practical and ritualized. Clothing, often made from reindeer hides and sewn with meticulous care, protected against the bitter cold while also signaling social identity. Shelters ranged from temporary tents and huts to more permanent structures built from wood and stone, ingeniously designed to trap heat and withstand Siberia's harsh winds. Cooking was as much a skill as a necessity, with preservation techniques such as smoking, drying, and freezing used to endure the long winters. Children learned from an early age to track animals, craft tools, and understand the land, ensuring that knowledge flowed seamlessly from one generation to the next. Despite the constant struggle for survival, leisure and expression were never absent. Music, dance, and storytelling were central to Siberian life, often intertwined with spiritual practice. Drums, flutes, and stringed instruments accompanied ceremonies, while songs recounted heroic hunts, migrations, and the deeds of ancestors. Through these cultural expressions, the people of Siberia reinforced their shared identity, passing down both practical knowledge and a sense of belonging that bound communities together across great distances. The social structure of Siberian communities reflected their environment. Clans were tightly knit, leadership often resting in the hands of experienced elders or visionary shamans who guided not only spiritual matters, but also practical decisions about hunting, migration, and defense. Cooperation was essential. Hunting mammoths or large herds of reindeer required careful planning and precise coordination, while conflict resolution and diplomacy ensured survival in a landscape where competition for resources could easily become deadly. Social cohesion and shared purpose were as vital as fire or food. Symbolism permeated Siberian life. Portable art, carvings, and ceremonial objects often depicted animals such as reindeer, wolves, and mammoths, each carrying spiritual significance. These representations were not static. They conveyed knowledge of migration patterns, survival strategies, and ethical codes, blending the practical with the sacred. Through art, Siberians encoded the wisdom of generations, ensuring that lessons learned in the frozen expanse were never lost. The economic and cultural links between Siberian communities and distant lands underscore the sophistication of these societies. Far from isolated, Siberia was a crossroads of human movement, a region that facilitated contact between East and West, North and South. Ideas, technologies, and even cultural practices traveled along these networks, influencing societies far beyond the tundra. By understanding these early trade and communication systems, we begin to see Siberia not as a remote outpost, but as a vibrant node in the tapestry of human civilization. Life amidst the tundra, therefore, was more than endurance. It was a testament to human creativity, adaptability, and community. Daily survival was inseparable from culture, art, and belief. Each tool, figurine, or ritual was a thread in the intricate fabric of society, binding individuals to their environment, to each other, and to the generations that followed. In these frozen expanses, Siberian communities cultivated a civilization uniquely their own, one that would leave an enduring imprint on the broader story of humanity. In the frozen expanses of Siberia, where survival was a daily challenge, ingenuity became the defining feature of human life. These ancient peoples, isolated by vast forests, icy rivers, and relentless winters, transformed adversity into innovation. Every tool, garment, and structure bore witness to their remarkable creativity, demonstrating that even in extreme conditions, human civilizations could flourish. Hunting was not merely a matter of sustenance, it was a sophisticated science. Siberians developed composite bows and finely crafted spears, designed for precision and power. Harpoons and fishing tools allowed them to exploit rivers and lakes, while snares and traps secured game across the tundra. Their strategies were adapted to the rhythms of nature, tracking herds, understanding migratory patterns, and predicting weather. Ingeniously, they utilized the environment itself, building windbreaks, snow shelters, and ice fishing platforms, turning the harsh landscape into an extension of their survival toolkit. Clothing, essential against Siberia's sub-zero temperatures, reflected both practicality and innovation. Garments were sewn from reindeer, mammoth, and other animal hides, layered and insulated to trap warmth. Decorative stitching and symbolic patterns adorned these clothes, merging functionality with cultural expression. Footwear, gloves, and hats were carefully designed to endure deep snow and icy winds, while even everyday accessories, like belts and pouches, showcased precision craftsmanship and aesthetic sensibility. Shelter, too, evolved in ingenious ways. Portable tents and semi-permanent huts allowed mobility for nomadic groups, while more substantial structures built from timber, stone, and mammoth bones provided enduring protection against the elements. Ingenious heating systems, fire pits, and ventilation techniques allowed these homes to sustain life even during the bitterest winters. These constructions were not mere shelters. They were statements of human adaptation and creativity, blending engineering, environmental understanding, and social organization. Siberian innovation extended beyond survival into metallurgy and toolmaking. Early experiments with bronze and copper allowed for stronger blades, fishing hooks, and agricultural implements. Bones, antlers, and stones were transformed into multifunctional tools, each designed with purpose and precision. Archaeological discoveries reveal a deep understanding of material properties, showing that Siberians carefully selected resources for durability and performance. This technological sophistication enabled them not only to survive, but to thrive, creating systems and techniques that would influence neighboring regions for centuries. Art and symbolic expression were another arena of innovation. Carvings, figurines, and portable art objects illustrate a highly developed aesthetic sense and a capacity for abstract thought. Rock art, etched into cliffs and cave walls, often depicts hunting scenes, spiritual symbols, and geometric patterns. Some scholars suggest these motifs represent early forms of proto-writing, encoding knowledge, rituals, and cultural identity. Such symbolism reflects a civilization that did not merely react to its environment, but interpreted, represented, and transformed it into meaning, creating a lasting cultural legacy. Beyond individual ingenuity, Siberians built networks that connected them to broader human movements. Trade routes, though constrained by geography, carried tools, ornaments, and raw materials across hundreds of kilometers. Obsidian, furs, and crafted goods moved along rivers and overland paths, linking communities and facilitating the exchange of knowledge. These networks not only spread technology and ideas, but also served as conduits for migration, connecting Siberia to other emerging civilizations and enabling a flow of culture and innovation across Eurasia. Monumental achievements, though often ephemeral, hint at a sophisticated engagement with space and ritual. Stone circles, burial mounds, and ceremonial sites reveal an awareness of geometry, astronomy, and the sacred. These early monuments may have functioned as community centers, spiritual hubs, or territorial markers, demonstrating that Siberian civilizations engaged with their landscape in ways that transcended mere survival. Even in isolation, they were innovators in creating physical and cultural landmarks that structured society and reflected their worldview. Perhaps most remarkable is the Siberians' influence on human migration itself. Their technologies, social structures, and cultural practices equipped them to traverse vast distances, from the frozen north to the Americas, and across the Eurasian steppes. Clothing, weapons, and survival techniques developed in Siberia enabled the successful dispersal of peoples into new lands. In this sense, the innovations of Siberian societies were not contained within their own borders. They became tools of human expansion, shaping the spread of humanity across continents. In the end, the ingenuity of Siberian civilizations is a testament to human resilience and creativity. In a world of ice and isolation, they developed technologies that rivaled those of more temperate regions, created art that captured the spirit of their environment, and built networks that connected them to the larger story of humanity. These achievements, often overlooked, reveal a civilization not defined by its remoteness, but by its remarkable capacity to innovate, adapt, and influence the world far beyond its frozen frontiers. Siberia, with all its challenges, became a laboratory of human possibility. The frozen tundra and snowbound forests were not barriers. They were catalysts, shaping a culture that balanced practicality with beauty, survival with expression, and isolation with connection. Through these innovations, the ancient peoples of Siberia left an indelible mark, a legacy of ingenuity that continues to ripple through history, reminding us that human creativity knows no bounds and that even in the harshest landscapes, civilization can flourish. Amid the vast frozen expanse of Siberia, where survival demanded constant vigilance and ingenuity, certain individuals rose above the challenges, shaping the destinies of their people. These were not rulers in the sense of palaces and armies, but leaders of a different kind. Chieftains, shamans, and influential families whose vision and authority guided entire communities through the relentless forces of nature. Their wisdom, courage, and foresight became the foundation upon which Siberian societies could endure, thrive, and expand. Chieftains, often chosen for experience, bravery, and knowledge of the land, held the responsibility of organizing hunts, coordinating migrations, and defending clans against rival groups. Their leadership was not imposed through force alone, but earned through respect, skill, and the ability to interpret the subtle signs of the environment. Decisions about when to move, where to hunt, or how to allocate scarce resources could mean the difference between survival and catastrophe. In these hands, the survival of the community became a shared strategy, executed with discipline, knowledge, and care. Shamans, meanwhile, occupied a unique and revered place in Siberian society. They were not only spiritual guides, but mediators between the tangible and the unseen. Through trance, ritual, and ceremony, shamans interpreted the movements of animals, the cycles of the seasons, and the will of spirits, offering counsel that was both practical and profound. They healed the sick, blessed hunters before expeditions, and provided a moral and ethical framework that held communities together. In a landscape where death and scarcity were constant companions, the shaman's insight offered not only hope but direction, turning uncertainty into actionable guidance. Some families became central pillars of community leadership, passing knowledge and authority across generations. These influential lineages ensured continuity, preserving traditions, rituals, and strategies that had been refined over centuries. Within these families, expertise in hunting, toolmaking, and environmental understanding was cultivated from a young age, creating a network of wisdom that bound clans together. Leadership was rarely centralized. It was distributed across elders, shamans, and skilled hunters, creating a balance between spiritual insight, practical skill, and social governance. Among the many figures who shaped Siberian civilization, certain legendary names emerge from myth, archaeology, and oral tradition. Stories tell of chieftains who led vast migrations across frozen plains, guiding their people to new territories in search of game, water, and safety. They navigated rivers, mountains, and ice fields with uncanny precision, relying on intimate knowledge of the land that rivaled any modern map. Their journeys were not random wanderings, but carefully orchestrated movements that ensured survival, allowed cultural exchange, and laid the groundwork for future migrations into North America and beyond. Shamans, too, left enduring legacies. Some were credited with teaching agricultural techniques, animal domestication practices, or innovative hunting strategies. Others mediated conflicts between rival clans, ensuring that social cohesion remained strong in a world where resources were limited and tensions could erupt into violence. Their spiritual authority reinforced social order, intertwining belief with practical governance. In essence, they were architects not just of faith, but of societal resilience. The influence of these leaders extended far beyond immediate survival. By guiding migrations, they connected Siberian communities to distant regions, enabling the flow of people, ideas, and technologies across continents. These movements helped spread innovations in toolmaking, clothing, and shelter, and even artistic expression. A single visionary leader could shape not only the fate of their own clan, but the broader trajectory of human migration, leaving traces of Siberian culture embedded in distant lands. Through their stories, we glimpse the human side of survival in Siberia. These were people who faced the brutal cold, scarcity, and uncertainty with courage and foresight. They were not merely reacting to circumstances, they were shaping them, steering communities through the unknown, and ensuring that knowledge, skill, and culture were passed to the next generation. Their lives remind us that leadership in ancient Siberia was measured not in wealth or conquest, but in the ability to preserve life, cultivate culture, and guide humanity's journey across the globe. In the frozen silence of Siberia, the echoes of these leaders still resonate. Every migration, every strategic hunt, every ritual led by a shaman or chieftain contributed to the resilience and adaptability of their people. These figures were the architects of survival, the custodians of culture, and the engineers of human movement. Without their vision and guidance, the story of Siberian civilization and its profound influence on the wider world might never have unfolded. They were, in every sense, the silent drivers behind one of humanity's most remarkable tales of endurance and ingenuity. Siberia, vast and beautiful, was also a land of relentless challenge. For the ancient peoples who called it home, survival was never guaranteed. The environment itself posed the greatest threat. Winters that plunged far below freezing, summers that were brief and unpredictable, and landscapes dominated by permafrost, frozen rivers, and snowbound forests. Life here was a constant negotiation with nature, a struggle that tested the endurance, ingenuity, and spirit of every community. Ice ages shaped not only the land, but the destiny of its inhabitants. Glaciers advanced and retreated over millennia, reshaping rivers, carving valleys, and forcing humans to adapt or relocate. Food scarcity became a recurring reality. Mammoths, reindeer, and other large game formed the backbone of Siberian diets, but their migrations and occasional disappearances could mean famine. Berries, roots, and fish supplemented the diet, yet even these resources were seasonal and often scarce. In these conditions, innovation was a matter of life and death. Food had to be hunted, stored, preserved, and rationed with precision. The harshness of the environment was compounded by human conflict. Intertribal clashes over hunting grounds, river crossings, or seasonal camps were inevitable. Although communities often shared kinship ties or alliances, competition for resources sometimes erupted into violence. Weapons were not only tools of survival, but instruments of defense. Coordinated hunts evolved into coordinated strategies for protection, and settlements had to balance openness with caution. Incursions from neighboring groups or migrating outsiders added another layer of tension, requiring diplomacy, negotiation, and sometimes confrontation. Yet even amidst scarcity and conflict, the Siberians displayed extraordinary resilience. Their survival strategies were multifaceted. Seasonal mobility allowed clans to follow animal herds and access different resources throughout the year. Knowledge of terrain, weather, and animal behavior became critical. Hunters read tracks in the snow, understood the flight patterns of birds, and timed migrations with astonishing precision. Communal living ensured that no individual bore the full burden of survival alone. Cooperation, shared labor, and interdependence were not just ideals, but necessities. Adaptation extended to shelter and clothing. Winter dwellings were built to withstand both the wind and the snow, insulated with layers of hides, furs, and vegetation. Portable tents allowed nomadic groups to follow game while remaining protected, while more permanent structures provided refuge in times of extreme cold. Clothing, designed for layering and mobility, allowed Siberians to traverse treacherous terrain and survive long hunting expeditions. Even tools reflected adaptation. Ice chisels, snowshoes, sledges, and specialized fishing implements were refined over generations to meet the exacting demands of the environment. Conflicts, too, prompted innovation. Strategies for defense, communication, and alliance building became crucial to survival. Leaders coordinated patrols, monitored neighboring groups, and mediated disputes to prevent unnecessary bloodshed. Shamans played a dual role in these crises, using ritual to maintain social cohesion while offering guidance rooted in observation and experience. The spiritual and the practical were intertwined. Ceremonies were as much about morale and unity as about appeasing unseen forces. Environmental hardships sometimes forced Siberians to migrate entirely, reshaping populations across the northern hemisphere. These migrations were fraught with peril, crossing frozen rivers, traversing mountain passes, and navigating unfamiliar terrain. Yet they also offered opportunity. Communities adapted to new climates, developed new hunting strategies, and integrated with other groups, exchanging knowledge and resources. Each movement strengthened their resilience, building a culture capable of enduring extremes while preserving identity and tradition. Disease, injury, and starvation added further challenges. The harsh climate weakened immunity. Injuries from hunting or accidents were common, and medical knowledge was limited. Yet Siberians developed remedies from herbs, animal fats, and other natural resources. Healing rituals, combined with practical care, sustained communities and reinforced social bonds. In this way, health and survival were inseparable from culture, spirituality, and community cohesion. The Siberians' response to conflict and hardship offers profound lessons about human endurance. They were not passive victims of environment or circumstance. They actively shaped their survival through observation, innovation, and cooperation. Every tool, every shelter, every ritual was an adaptation to the extremes, a calculated response to ensure the continuation of life. Their resilience was not only physical but cultural, preserving knowledge, traditions, and social structures under pressure. In this frozen crucible, Siberian civilizations honed a remarkable balance between adaptability and continuity. While ice and scarcity tested them relentlessly, they persisted, leaving behind traces of their ingenuity and determination. Their story reminds us that the survival of a civilization is never guaranteed by resources alone. It requires courage, coordination, and the ability to transform hardship into opportunity. Through environmental challenges, intertribal conflict, and the unpredictable forces of nature, the peoples of Siberia endured, adapted, and even thrived. They created a society capable of navigating extremes, forging connections, and sustaining culture across generations. In understanding their struggles and resilience, we gain insight into the broader human journey, one in which survival in the face of adversity has always been the spark of innovation, community, and enduring legacy. Even the most resilient civilizations eventually face the forces of change. And in Siberia, the shifting climate, migration, and the relentless passage of time began to reshape the lands and peoples that had thrived for millennia. What once had been scattered, self-sufficient communities now faced new pressures: warming temperatures, receding ice, and the gradual transformation of ecosystems. Forests expanded where tundra had dominated, rivers changed course, and animal migrations shifted, forcing Siberian peoples to adapt once more, or to move. Survival demanded flexibility, and even the most enduring traditions began to bend under the weight of environmental transformation. Migration became both necessity and opportunity. Communities moved toward fertile valleys, river basins, and coastal areas, following the herds that had sustained them for generations. In some cases, entire clans relocated hundreds of kilometers, seeking new lands and new sources of food. These movements were not chaotic, they were deliberate, guided by knowledge passed through generations, carefully observing patterns of nature and responding to changes in the land. Each journey carried culture, skills, and stories into new territories, seeding human activity far beyond the frozen north. Integration with neighboring populations accelerated during these periods of change. Siberian peoples met, mingled, and sometimes merged with groups from Central Asia, the steppes, and even regions to the west and south. Genetic evidence shows that the lineages of ancient Siberians spread widely, leaving traces that can still be detected in populations across Eurasia and the Americas. Cultural exchanges accompanied these movements, introducing new tools, artistic motifs, and survival techniques that would enrich both the migrants and the communities they joined. In this way, the legacy of Siberia did not vanish. It transformed, diffusing into the larger human story. The disappearance of distinct Siberian cultural markers was gradual. Settlements were abandoned as people followed the herds or moved toward more hospitable climates. Some monumental or ceremonial sites fell into disuse, their stones weathered and their stories fading from memory. Yet even as these civilizations receded, elements of their culture persisted. Rituals, symbols, and survival strategies were absorbed by neighboring communities. The art carved in ivory, the lessons inscribed in rock, and the innovations in clothing, shelter, and tools all left enduring imprints that would influence distant societies for centuries. Climate change also altered the economic foundations of Siberian life. Hunting patterns shifted as megafauna disappeared or migrated elsewhere. Communities increasingly relied on a combination of hunting, fishing, and foraging, adapting their tools and techniques to new prey and changing landscapes. Seasonal mobility remained crucial, but the rhythms of life were now dictated as much by environmental upheaval as by tradition. Survival became an exercise in constant observation and flexibility, and those unable to adapt faced decline. Despite these pressures, Siberian peoples demonstrated remarkable resilience. Even as distinct societies faded, their knowledge, innovations, and migrations helped shape the populations and cultures that would come after. Clothing designs, hunting techniques, and even spiritual practices persisted in modified forms, integrated into the traditions of new groups across the steppes, forests, and river valleys. In essence, the civilization did not vanish entirely. It evolved, its essence carried forward into the broader tapestry of human history. The story of Siberia's transformation underscores a fundamental truth about civilization. Survival is never static. It is a dynamic process, continuously influenced by environment, movement, and contact with other peoples. In Siberia, adaptation was both a response to challenge and a force of cultural diffusion. Communities that could adapt spread knowledge and tradition. Those that could not were absorbed, leaving only traces in memory, art, and genetic legacy. Even disappearance in this context became a form of contribution to the ongoing story of humanity. As we trace these patterns, we see that Siberia was never isolated. Its peoples were active participants in a broader human narrative, shaping migration routes, influencing technological development, and leaving a genetic and cultural footprint across continents. The frozen north, once seen as a barrier, was instead a crucible, forging resilient cultures whose influence extended far beyond the ice and tundra. Their transformation, gradual as it was, ensured that Siberia's story did not end with abandonment or extinction, but with integration, adaptation, and enduring legacy. By the time the historical record begins to reflect surrounding civilizations, the ancient Siberians had already faded from the spotlight. Yet their contributions, the lessons of survival, the migrations, the art, and the tools, remained woven into the very fabric of Eurasian history. In this way, their story is not one of loss, but of transformation. A civilization that reshaped itself, expanded its influence, and quietly left a mark on the broader currents of humanity. Even in the windswept tundra and melting permafrost, the echoes of Siberia's ancient peoples continue to resonate, a reminder that adaptation, resilience, and connection define the enduring spirit of civilization. Long after the last campsites were abandoned and the ice-sculpted landscapes reclaimed by time, the people of ancient Siberia left traces that endure in the very fabric of humanity. Their legacy is not confined to artifacts or monuments. It flows through our genes, our cultures, and the global patterns of migration that have shaped civilizations across continents. By studying Siberia, we glimpse a civilization whose influence quietly yet profoundly connects the past to the present. Genetic studies reveal that ancient Siberians were central actors in the dispersal of humans across the globe. Their descendants populated vast stretches of Eurasia and even crossed into the Americas via the Bering Land Bridge. In modern populations, their genetic markers persist, echoing millennia of migration and interconnection. Each strand of DNA carries stories of adaptation to extreme cold, survival in resource-scarce landscapes, and the movement of peoples across vast distances. In this sense, Siberia's ancient inhabitants are not gone. They live on within us, a testament to resilience and the shared journey of humanity. Cultural influences spread alongside these migrations. Siberian innovations in hunting, clothing, and shelter inform the techniques of neighboring civilizations, from the nomadic steppes of Central Asia to the early settlers of North America. Artistic motifs, spiritual practices, and symbolic systems traveled with these populations, leaving subtle yet enduring imprints on the cultural fabric of distant societies. Languages and oral traditions bear traces of contact, exchange, and adaptation, showing that even in remote regions, Siberian societies contributed to a wider human dialogue that transcended geography and time. Technological innovations, born of necessity in the harshest environments, also had far-reaching effects. The development of insulated clothing, advanced hunting tools, portable shelters, and river crossing techniques enabled not only survival, but migration itself. As these methods spread, they allowed humans to colonize new territories, survive extreme climates, and expand the boundaries of civilization. In every tool, garment, and practice, we see the ingenuity of a people who turned isolation into a source of knowledge, a civilization whose lessons traveled far beyond the frozen north. The story of Siberia's ancient peoples also offers profound insights into adaptation and survival. In a world of shifting climates and unpredictable resources, success depended on observation, flexibility, and cooperation. Communities thrived not through conquest or accumulation, but through understanding the rhythms of nature, sharing knowledge, and building resilience across generations. Their experiences remind us that human survival is intertwined with cultural, technological, and environmental intelligence, an interplay as vital today as it was tens of thousands of years ago. Siberia's influence extends even to our understanding of human migration itself. By tracing the movements of ancient Siberian populations, scientists have been able to map the spread of peoples across continents, connecting Europe, Asia, and the Americas in a narrative of interconnectedness. These migrations shape the genetic and cultural diversity of the modern world, illustrating that even the most remote civilizations played critical roles in humanity's global journey. The threads of Siberian society, its innovations, migrations, and adaptability, are woven into the broader story of human survival and expansion. Modern researchers, adventurers, and scholars continue to uncover these hidden threads. Every artifact, burial site, and genetic study reinforces the understanding that Siberia was not an isolated frontier, but a crucible of human ingenuity. Its civilizations offer lessons about the power of adaptation, the importance of environmental awareness, and the interconnectedness of human experience across time and space. In studying Siberia, we recognize that the story of humanity is not a series of disconnected chapters, but a continuous, intricate web shaped by even the most overlooked civilizations. Ultimately, the legacy of ancient Siberia reminds us that survival, creativity, and innovation know no bounds. From the frozen tundra to the sprawling cities of the modern world, the echoes of these lost peoples endure in the human spirit. Their story teaches that adaptation, movement, and resilience are universal qualities, central to every civilization that has shaped our shared history. In understanding their influence, we gain not only insight into the past, but also inspiration for facing the challenges of our own age. Proof that even in the harshest conditions, humanity can endure, innovate, and leave a lasting mark upon the world. As the wind sweeps across Siberia's endless tundra, carrying flakes of snow that shimmer like shards of forgotten time, one can almost hear the whispers of those who came before. Here, in the frozen silence, the ancient peoples of Siberia lived, loved, hunted, and dreamed, leaving traces of their existence etched into stone, bone, and ice. Though their campsites have long vanished and their voices faded into the cold, their ingenuity, courage, and resilience remain, lingering like a subtle heartbeat beneath the snow. The frozen rivers and towering forests stand as monuments to their endurance, reflecting a civilization that thrived against unimaginable odds. Every carved figurine, every ritual site, every tool tells a story of survival, adaptation, and human creativity. Across continents, through migration and memory, the spirit of these people endures, shaping humanity in ways we are only beginning to understand. In the quiet of Siberia's vast expanse, we are reminded that even the most remote and harsh corners of the Earth hold stories that resonate across millennia. Their legacy is not just in what they built, hunted, or created. It is in the enduring human spirit that continues to explore, adapt, and leave its mark on the world. The lost civilizations of Siberia may be gone, but their echoes still stir the imagination, inviting us to remember, reflect, and wonder.